we sat down, we started making themes one after another, like bang, 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 bang. It took about a month and eventually we landed up doing some 75 to 80 themes. Everybody thinks that the entire music in the film is done by this one person who's done the songs. And they don't understand background score, and background score, according to them, is like the sound effects in the film. So you don't get your recognition, people don't understand what you do. We used orchestras also to play that bam, bam, jan, 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 jan. So that whole thing was played by an entire orchestra. So you have to keep experimenting and making it as grand, but at the same time as impactful as it should be. Hi, my name is Julius Packiam and I'm a music director. I do scores, background music for films. Music came very naturally to me. The whole concept of rhythm and melody and stuff like that. And so by the time I was about, say, 8 or 10 years old, I was singing in competitions in school and stuff like that. And by default, I would take part for the school in inter-school competitions. And I remember once I went for a competition to another school and I heard somebody practice, and they were the school band that was playing. And Loy Mendonza of Shankar Ehsan Loy was their teacher, music teacher. And since they were not competing, they were just being the entertainment part of the competition. When the doors opened, I saw him on stage and he was playing the bass guitar. Now this was the first time I ever heard a bass guitar being played with the speakers and a PA system and all that. The feeling I got was like just goose flesh all over. Like I never heard something like that. The frequencies were like, wow, this is magical. And that sensation just stayed on. I said, like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I was like a kid in a toy factory or something like that. It was really, really fascinating. And I mean, I can never forget that memory. So it leaves such an indelible mark. And then you just by default, this is what I'm going to do. So I started playing when I was in school only in bands. And by default, I went to college and played in rock bands. Then the music started becoming more and more grungier, till after a point which I decided to choose this as a profession. I mean, the fascinating artist called KK, who just recently passed away, was a very, very close friend. He was in the same school as where I'd gone for that competition. So I was in a rival school. I was in St. Columbus School and he was in Mount St. Mary School. But I would, because I was a singer and I got a little popular, the band of Mount St. Mary's would get me to come and rehearse with them in their school, in a rival school. So I would take out my tie and my belt and all that so they wouldn't recognize from which school I was and enter Mount St. Mary School. So KK was in that band and KK used to play drums. And I was the lead singer of that band. So, but he was a year senior, that whole batch was a year senior to me. So when by default, they went to a college, Kirorimal, they all got admission in the same college. And I would go, when I went to the 12th, I used to travel all the way to Kirorimal College as a school student and go and practice with the same band there with KK playing drums and everything and all that. KK used to also sing and play drums. So he was like Phil Collins variety. And then by default, when I passed out of school, I didn't even stand in a queue to get one single form of any college. I never tried. These guys just got me there. Which course do you want? What do you want? Just sign here. Sign on this paper. Okay, I signed, and that was my admission process. I got into Kirorimal. After a point, you can't sustain just singing rock music or heavy metal music. You have to understand the business. And then I realized that if you can't beat them, join them. It's like that. So when the whole there was a phase during the 90s where there was pop music was very big. Right. You had the advent of from Baba Sehgal to Alisha Chanoy to whole lot of guys were there, and Dilair Mehndi and all that, and it became very popular. And since I was in Delhi, Punjabi music was very popular then. So we would do gigs and stuff like that, but we realized that if we do Hindi or Punjabi, the chances of getting more gigs is greater and better pay and stuff like that. Yeah. So by the late 90s, I formed a band. There were two young guys from Khalsa College in Delhi as well, and they were both of them were Sadajis, and I said this is the best combination. They could sing Hindi also very well and Punjabi also very well. So I teamed up with them and we started making music, and then we started making our original stuff. We went to a record label, they liked our stuff and they took it on. Came our first album, we did couple of videos that came out and got pretty popular also at that period of time. I always wanted to come to Bombay when I was working in Delhi. In Delhi, I was doing a lot of television work and jingles and stuff. But Bombay it was a tough environment then. To break through, it's very difficult to come here and break through on your own. I'm talking about like, I started doing jingles from 1992 or 93, from that period onwards. Then, when Kabir had come to Bombay, he was shopping for his script and to do a film, which was Kabul Express basically, and a lot of companies were there that showed keen interest, but nobody actually, went ahead and signed him on. But he was very lucky when Adi and Yashraj Chopra, Adi Chopra in Yashraj got hold of his script. By some stroke of luck, there was a gentleman who handed it over to him, and that gentleman, nobody knows where he is. And he was briefly he was a friend of Kabir's, and after that he just disappeared into oblivion. And that script came to Adi. Adi loved it. He said, why not try something different for our banner? And he signed on Kabir for 3 films. So Kabir immediately said, wow, this is a great, for Kabir it was like amazing, the biggest banner to sign him on. So he asked Adi, is it possible that I use somebody I'm comfortable with to do my music? And since Kabul Express had no songs and stuff like that, he wanted just the score to be done by me. So Adi immediately told him, yeah, of course, whoever you're comfortable, please feel free. So he said he's in Delhi, I'll have to get him. He said, that's up to you how you want to do the logistics to it. So then Kabir called me. I was over the moon. I said, of course, I had jumped to the offer. I came to Bombay. In about a month and a half, I finished the film. And I went back to Delhi. I used to come and go in between. But that was my first break, and everybody liked the score for that film. And it was my first nomination, Filmfare nomination. My first film was nominated. And I didn't even know about it. When people saw the program, then they said, your film was nominated, by the way. Music that is used in a scene for a film or for a television production that enhances that scene is basically music, it's called background music or background score. Now it could be used for an action sequence, it can be used for a dramatic scene, it can be used for a romantic scene, for a comedy scene, any kind of thing you can use music. Conversely, also, you needn't have any music for a scene also, that the scene will work on its own. But provided the scene works on its own, if it's not working on its own, then music does tend to help and push the scene further. I'm not a big fan of music throughout a film, but I like it only when it comes and goes in transitions, when you're showing passage of time and stuff like that, or showing a montage and all, then it's fine. Otherwise, I still feel scenes should hold on its own. The performance of the scene should be realistic and should hold itself. That's what I personally feel. Music that basically complements a scene or an actor's performance or an ensemble's performance on screen is music called background music, is the music that is called background score or music. Background music is done in post-production, which means that the film is shot and the film is edited, and once the edit is ready, then the background music director sits and makes the music to each scene. Now, this edit can sometimes have music which the director chooses to have, like a temporary music, and eventually to help the director move from one scene to another. When I did New York, for example, now Kabir had used a lot of Hollywood biggies, like, he had used Blood Diamond and Slumdog Millionaire and this and that, the music of those films, to cut his scenes with. So when I got the thing, so he said, "Mereko aisa music chahiye. I just wanted like this, as good as this and all." I said, "That's ridiculous." So, you're asking for the moon. It's going to be impossible. That kind of score, those kind of scores are done by big orchestras and this and that, and you have to work everything within the box. And so he said, "I don't care. Come what may, I want that kind of music." So we worked hard. It's all plausible now. In our machines, you can make. You can sound as good as an orchestra, a live orchestra, currently with the kind of software and all that is available. when we initially sat down to, the first discussion was we need a hook, we need a theme for Tiger. And at that time, I wasn't too sure whether they had it in mind that we are planning to make a franchise. But when a film does well, they decide to do a franchise. So, but nevertheless, they knew it was Kabir's first movie with Salman. Salman was on top of his game, biggest #1 star in the country. So when he comes on screen, and plus he's playing a spy and he's a hero of the film, you have to give him that larger than life feel. He already looks larger than life when he comes on screen. Now the music has to justify that look. It has to give it that aura and that superhero kind of vibe. So we sat down, we started making themes one after another, like bang, 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 bang. It took about a month to, and eventually we landed up doing some 75 to 80 themes, and it was according to us, each and everything should have worked. But these guys, Kabir and Adi, both were like, no, maybe no. But so they started doing and when you're actually scrolling through 79 different pieces of music, you get brain dead after a point. Like, you get it doesn't work. Then they started shortlisting it. So they from 79 came to about 20, from 20 it came to about 10, 10 to 5, 5 to 3, like that, So finally we cracked it and said, okay, this is the one we'll hold on to. In fact, we combined two different parts. We took one theme from another thing and one from another theme. So we used like different chunks of two different themes we made. I'm going to show you how a music, since I can't show the footage of something that I'm working on, I'll explain it verbally what's happening, and I'll explain what the kind of music the directors asked me to do. And basically this is the ending of the film, where the boy and the girl get into their car somewhere in the Mediterranean and somewhere in France, and they get into the car and the car starts driving off, and then the camera pulls out, it goes into a drone footage, and it basically shows the car moving through these hills, and then the credit roll starts rolling up of the film, and the end credits keep happening. And the director wanted something which was representative of that place, that area, that French kind of Riviera. So best kind of example was to use bossa nova music, which is very Frenchy, very European in its style. And so we made something, and I'll explain what comes first. I started when the camera is close to the guys coming to the car, so I started with drums. Then I introduce various instruments along the way. So I'll start and play the whole thing, about a minute long or whatever. So this is the rhythm of a bossa nova, very basic pattern. And this is where the guitar, I introduce an acoustic guitar. Now the bass comes in, which is an acoustic bass, upright bass. And the camera is pulling out, and you see the car from behind, and the camera goes round, and the car cuts to a shot where the car is on the side of a hill, and it's a road on the side of a hill, and there's the sea here on the hill, and it's green and it's beautiful, and then the camera completely goes into a wide angle shot, and then you have strings come in. Now the credits start rolling up.